Hello everyone. I've decided to start posting things on my YouTube channel because recent things that have happened to me in life, some things that I have been reflecting on. I was talking to a friend about some things that I've encountered recently, and it took that conversation for me to realize that I think I have anxiety problems now, which I have never had before. I have had depression for some 10 years or whatsoever, but it's recovered pretty much completely right now. The doctor gave me a test and did the chart, and there was all these different problems like depression, hate, anxiety, and bipolar, and all these different things listed. The percentage on the anxiety thing was, for me, it was like really low, like close to nothing. And then the doctor looked at my results and was like, oh, this kid probably doesn't want to kill herself, so that's good for me. I didn't have anxiety back then. Several of my friends have been telling me I've been acting weird. They didn't tell me that very directly, because I think they weren't sure if I was gonna take it very well, because the way I've been acting weird is being a little bit hyper-aggressive. I am not very sensitive to my own emotions, because I always tend to think, and I actually am a pretty calm person in general. I consider myself to be pretty logical, reasonable, and emotionally stable most of the times. Yeah, the things that I've run into recently that through reflecting on myself, I have realized is several unhappy things that I thought were small, insignificant things, but turns out to have a real impact on me. Which, if you guys know, I wear alternative fashion, and specifically most of the times Lolita. One time I went to dinner in a mall and came out and tried to get on the subway, and the security guard stopped me because he thought I was wearing very bizarre clothing. And I don't know, I was dressing as fairy godmother. I don't know what harm he thought I would do, and he stopped me, and so several of the security guards were talking about something, and then in the end they let me go. So I think he was trying to have me check up for something. I don't know, because all of my bags went past security check already, and he stopped me specifically just because the way I was dressed. That time, I already got pretty unhappy. I called the subway authorities that day, and the next day they gave me a call back, and they were actually very nice about it. They said, so the security guards aren't technically under the system. They're recruited from a security guard company. Most of the security guards go through a very basic training and then become security guards. So there might have been problems with the training. Yeah, I think they were very nice and clear about that the responsibility isn't theirs. But they did admit that as long as my things and me in person, the whole person goes through security check, they don't have a valid reason to stop me. They asked me if I wanted an apology from the security guard, the one person that stopped me. I said, well, no, because I don't care about if anyone has any personal judgments on the way I dress. I don't care if he doesn't like me. I don't care if this person doesn't think I'm a normal person, or if he thinks I'm insane, or if he thinks I'm gonna blow up the subway. I don't care. He can't use his powers like that. So the system, the company, has a responsibility to look over the way the security guards are using their power. And I think it's a systematic problem if they're able to do this. So I did. This is funny, they asked me very nicely if I wanted an apology from that one security guard. And I said, no, I do not want the apology from that security guard. I want an apology from this company. And then they never called me back. Well, that was that. But in general, I think my emotions were stable, at least, after this incident. Until quite a few days later, I never thought I'd come back to problems so fast. It was a subway station that I always go on near where I live. I was wearing very a vintage feeling and classic feeling Lolita cords, and I wasn't even wearing a petticoat underneath, which means I looked completely normal. And my hairdress was a very cute teacup on my head. It's a cute look, right? When I tried to get on the subway, when I put my things over for a security check, this time it was a lady. She stared at me pretty far, since starting from when I was walking towards them, and then when I got there, she was like, I think this counts as bizarre clothing. We should stop her. And because of my last complaint call, I already know she doesn't actually have the right to stop me for what I'm wearing. So I picked up my things and I just left without stopping. That was me trying to be cool. Inside, I was like, what? Again? No. And I don't get it, because, you know, Beijing is supposed to be an international big city, and people are supposed to see different things every day. And even though, you know, we call ourselves multicultural and accepting, that was from 2008, apparently, from the Olympics. And a few days later, from the same stop when I was trying to get on, so this lady was still working there. I put my things on the rolling thing. I don't know what's called. They can see what's in your bag. Put my bag there, and 20 meters in front of me and behind me, there was no one else. So it wasn't a very busy time. When I put my things in there, it was a backpack. It was a black backpack, and I had my iPad and some cables and my lipstick in it. They stopped the machine in the middle, and like they had to press a button to stop the machine and look at what's inside in the middle. And I feel very uncomfortable. Well, because if you know in general that although everybody has to set pass security check, they don't usually look at your stuff so carefully. So unless you're carrying a very big knife or a liquid spray or a bottle of liquid, they might ask you to drink it to prove that it's not gasoline or whatever. But I didn't have any liquid in my bag that day. And it was just an iPad and some cables and some lipstick. And, you know, you don't have to stop it to see what's in it. And they stopped it purposefully to see what it was in my bag. And I feel very uncomfortable about that. That lady definitely doesn't like me, and she did that on purpose. But, you know, I kind of don't know if I should file a complaint this time, because you already know how they're going to handle it. It doesn't work, really. These are a few incidents that are unhappy that I've had with the subway recently, which is the main transportation that I take every day. There has been other things as well, which I still feel bad till now. So the other day I was wearing Lolita dressed like this. I was going home, and on the subway at that time was a busy hour. So there was a foreigner on the train that was looking at me, and he came and talked to me, and he said, did you go to some kind of convention? Is this from a party, or did you do a performance? It's, you know, a very common kind of misunderstanding for the way you're dressing. But, you know, he's not rude. So I was like, no, this isn't for a performance. I'm not a performance artist. This is just the fashion choices that I have. It's just street fashion. And he was like, oh, well, it looks very fancy and cute. I'm like, oh, thank you. And then he tried to continue the conversation. He was like, you don't have an accent. You're not Chinese, are you? I'm like, yes, I am. People, sometimes people get surprised that I don't have an accent, but usually they don't go that far. But, it was still in the friendly zone of the conversation, and it wasn't offensive to me, at least. So I thought it was okay to continue the conversation. But what made me really uncomfortable wasn't this person trying to talk to me at all. It was the fact that the whole subway, it was completely silent. It's usually very quiet during rush hour. It's usually just quiet in general. I don't know. But I guess it's more quiet during rush hour in general because people usually go to work and go home alone. So that's why they don't have conversations. But yeah, and because of the silence, our conversation was heard by everyone in that subway. And I know some people is gonna say, you're so self-conscious, like no one is gonna actually listen to what you're saying, no one's interested. But the problem isn't that people always have different thoughts towards you. The problem is, why do I care, right? If you guys don't know, there is so much animosity against women that are friendly towards foreigners in China, just women specifically. And most of the unhappy people are very nationalist Chinese guys who think foreigners are going to steal their girl. I think I put this forward pretty directly, that there can be so much hate on the internet. They will take photos and videos of you without you knowing and post it online and say terrible things about you. And it's one of those chat rooms or discussion panels where in general they're just similar incel guys on there. So yeah, you'll get in trouble by being manhunted by those people. So yeah, there's that fear going on. So when I was talking to this person, I felt just in general very nervous because I was afraid this would happen to me. I don't think I was showing any friendliness just because he's a foreigner, but because, there's always people that think and talk stuff about the way I dress. Most of them say shit behind me. And, that's impolite. But this person, at least, he would come up to me and talk about it to me so we can actually have a conversation. I don't think there was a problem with that person, and I don't think there was a problem about me, but I was afraid. See, I think I'm already one of the luckier Lolitas because I don't get comments and people saying you're so fat or you're trying to be a kid even though you're an old woman, or there's a lot of insult on that already that sometimes my friends come across. This is the response they get. And concern about the environment in general. And what's funny is comments from kids are usually compliments. And I've had little girls that stared at me and while in a restaurant, and they would come and look at me, and I could tell they were too shy to just talk to me. So I smiled back, and they would run to their moms and say, "Oh, mommy, look at that pretty lady. She just smiled at me." And yeah, that's heartwarming and it's nice, and it's pure innocent kids with kindness and curiosity. And sometimes there were little boys. There was once I was walking on the street and this little boy just stopped in the middle of the street staring at me with his mouth open, and when I walked close, he was like, "Hello, miss, you're so pretty." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Well, that's a very nice little boy, isn't it? How come some boys just grow up to become disgusting men? How come? Why? No offense to men in general, so I'm talking about incels. So don't be offended. And yes, be offended if you're an incel and you know that. For this year, for some reason, I've come across these things at a much higher rate than I used to. And so anxiety has been gradually hitting me very slowly. And there is a story that I would like to share with you. Very dramatic topic switch right now. That as a child I really loved. So this is the storybook. I'm going to be talking about the storyboard. I'm going to be talking about the storybook because it provides inspiration for me on how to deal with all that I just talked about. Those were some of my recent unhappy incidents that I've come across, and I have to say, it's taken me some effort to realize that it was those things that were causing me anxiety problems. I was suspecting maybe family, maybe because I just broke up, maybe because of work. And in the end, I had to rule out all of these to finally realize, oh, it's because people have been staring at me. So yeah, that was that. And if you want to check out the storybook, I'll be talking about it in the next video. So see you.